Hi, and welcome back to Movies Explained, where we recap your favorite movies for you. Today, we will be recapping a movie that revolves around an English teacher that falls in love with a gangster and faces several challenges. So without further ado, let's begin. Margaret thinks that there is no such thing as happy endings. All the pieces do not fit perfectly and things are ragged and messy. Margaret goes to her flight attendant class where she works as a pronunciation teacher via a train. She greets her students and then she sees Tomiko in front of the lockers. She greets her and takes her uniform out of her locker. Tomiko tells her that she likes her outfit and Margaret replies with a thank you to her, but then she says that they have very little time so they should go, and she then changes her clothes and takes her class. After her class, Margaret walks down the street to go to her apartment, which is located in a relatively shabby area. At night she goes to a bar. She greets the bartender girl and her friend Catherine. She says that she loves this place and takes a shot of the vodka, and Catherine laughs at it and says that Margaret always says that. Their other friend Liam comes by and then they smoke and drink beer. She then asks that she wonders what it is like to be drunk, and everybody starts laughing. Liam tells her that she is already very much drunk, so what more she wants to know about being drunk. She then goes to the restroom and somebody knocks at the door. When she gets out of there, she sees a guy standing there. She looks at him and kisses him and then goes away and comes to her friends again. They all are laughing and she asks what she has missed. After some time, she and Liam comes outside the bar and smoke cigarettes. Liam asks her why she has never taken him to a love hotel. He tells her that there is no pressure, but he keeps on observing her keenly. After some moments, she says that he is like a brother to her and he smiles and gets away from her. She turns over and sees a man named Kazu in a black Mercedes. She looks at him with her dilated pupils and he also looks at her for some time and goes away. Catherine comes and says let's have another round of drinks, but Margaret denies and says that she is going to home. Margaret goes to a cafe while having a juice and sees a group of 3 guys laughing around. She observes them for some time and one of the boys takes her to a hotel where they take a room and get intimate. The next day, she is late for the class and she has hangover from the previous night but keeps on walking fast and opens the door. Nakamura sees her and says that she thinks Margaret has the flu so she should take the day off. Margaret goes to the restroom and Nakamura follows her and says that she is going to speak bluntly and asks Margaret if she knew why she has hired her. She then tells Margaret that she reminds her of herself and she further adds that she is a middle-aged lady with no husband and children, so everyone around her thinks that it is sad and strange. She says that everyone can learn something from her and Margaret can teach them something as well. Margaret goes to a stationery shop and looks here and there and takes out a book. She opens it and sees a disturbing picture when Kazu comes there and asks her if she liked Hawkeyes. Margaret assumes that he is talking about some book and she says yes. Kazu asks her again if she liked the artist Hawkeyes. Margaret again says yes and asks him what he is looking for. He then takes the book from her hands and places it on the shelf and he looks at her from top to bottom and goes away. But Margaret follows him and he takes her to the Love Hotel and they get intimate. She comes to the bar smiling, where Catherine and Liam are already present, and she asks the bartender for the drinks. She then tells them about Kazu happily and tells them that he is an amazing man. Catherine starts teasing her by saying that she thinks Margaret has been deflowered, but Margaret laughs and says that she thinks she has not been flowered properly by anyone. Next day, Margaret goes to the class before time and sets the chairs as she feels very energetic. Margaret asks Nakamura if she ever wanted to get married and Nakamura replies that she wants to, but she falls in love with a wrong man. When she gets out of the institute, she sees Kazu waiting for her and they both go out for eating. He asks her about her job in the institute and Margaret tells him that she is a pronunciation teacher to a group of flight attendant girls. He takes her to a sushi place and it has a lot of noise. When Margaret goes to restroom and Kazu shuts everybody up, and when Margaret comes back she becomes very surprised to observe the quietness in the room. Margaret asks Kazu why he likes her, to which Kazu replies that she is special because it is difficult to make her happy but he likes the challenge. In the evening, Catherine comes to her home and asks Margaret if she ever cleaned the place. Margaret tells her that it does not bother her, or she does not have the ability to clean. Some moments later, Margaret says that it seems like she is destined to go nuts. Catherine says that it might be because of her new gangster guy Kazu, and Margaret tells her that he is getting married. Catherine says that it sucks, and she further adds that Japanese love their cherry blossom trees so much, not because they are pink and pretty but because they do not last long. Catherine tells her that she should enjoy the ride and takes her out to a club where they both dance and party. Next day she takes the class, and after her class she receives the book she is looking at the day when Kazu meets her. There is a hotel card in the book and she starts smiling and goes to that hotel room where she meets Kazu. She asks Kazu if he ever cut somebody's finger. He replies that cutting fingers is for apology. Every time one looks at it, he will remember what he has done. Margaret says that in her childhood her brother tried to cut his finger as he wants to have a wound. Kazu then tells her that she has never said something about her family, but Margaret replies that she does not have a family. Upon asking again by Kazu, Margaret says that her father has left them ages ago and her mother is dead because of the cancer last year. Kazu asks Margaret about her brother. She says that he hears voices in his head, telling him to do things. Margaret asks Kazu about the girl she is getting married to, that if he loves her. Kazu says that he feels loyalty, guilty and duty, and tells her that he can't be alone in this world even if he wanted to be. He has to think about other people like family. She goes to the bar the other day and talks randomly about stuff to Liam. There he introduces her girlfriend Louise to Margaret. Louise says that Liam has told her quite much about Margaret, and Margaret says that Liam has never mentioned about Louise to her. Just then Catherine comes there and they start teasing them. When Margaret is coming to the institute in the morning, she becomes very surprised to see Kazu outside waiting for her, and he has a gift in his hands. She greets him and takes the gift from his hands and opens it to find a pair of socks in it. He asks if he could have her whole day. Margaret asks him if it could be tomorrow, but Kazu denies. Margaret looks at the front door to the institute and sees Tomiko there, but Margaret leaves with him without notifying Nakamura. They both take the train and Kazu shows her his family pictures of her mother, sister and other family members, and Margaret feels very happy to see them. Kazu takes her to show the Buddha's room and tells her that people say at this place, one can reborn and can let go of one's past. Margaret feels very fascinated by the place. On returning from the Buddha's room, Kazu congratulates Margaret on her birthday, but Margaret becomes surprised and says that it is not her birthday. Kazu says that she is reborn today as she has visited the Buddha's room today, and she laughs and says that it is Kazu's birthday as well as he has visited there with her. They take the train and Margaret falls asleep. Kazu looks at her and spread his jacket around Margaret and leaves. When train stops, Margaret wakes up and realizes that Kazu is gone. She looks around the station but cannot find him. Next day, when she reaches the institute, she sees another teacher on her place and Margaret understands that she has lost the job. She then takes her stuff and leaves. Catherine comes to her place and tells that she is leaving Japan, and Margaret starts crying and says that nothing lasts. Everything gets away. They go to the bar, have a drink, and Margaret asks Catherine why she chooses her as she never felt strange about Margaret like other people do. Catherine replies that some people are brought up by wolves and Margaret is one of them. Margaret hugs and says goodbye to Catherine. Days pass by when she sees Kazu in a street with an old man on the wheelchair. She hides herself and sees him from a distance, and after some moments, she sees a woman in a white dress and she has white flowers in her hands. Kazu helps her to sit in the car, and after that the woman and the old man leave. Kazu starts walking on the road and Margaret follows him down the streets. He reaches a hotel and vanishes. Margaret knocks at the every door of the hallway and starts calling for Kazu, but she is being monitored from the cameras in the hallway. She sits on the corridor floor and starts crying. Kazu then goes to her and takes her by her arm to an office. He says that he is not good for her, but Margaret offers that she can be his little secret and that she loves him. Margaret keeps on crying and Kazu hugs her in comfort. Kazu is alone in the office, smoking a cigarette and crying. While walking on a busy pathway, Margaret feels so out of the place that she is about to hit by a heavy vehicle, but before that a woman saves her. When she comes back to her place, she sees an eviction notice on her door. She then starts working as private bar dancer, but she feels very dejected and gets fired. One day, she is crying on the road and smoking a cigarette when Louise suddenly sees and asks if she was okay. Louise then takes her for breakfast and talks to her about random stuff. She asks Margaret if she ever felt homesick, and Margaret says that she feels better when she is out of the home as she craves for distance. Margaret asks Louise if she was still with Liam, and Louise says that Liam has been deported as his visa gets expired way long ago. Louise further informs her that she is going to meet Liam in Thailand at the end of the month. One night, after drinking too much, Margaret is getting down the stairs to an underground train station when she sees a man following her. She suddenly starts laughing and then all of a sudden she becomes anxious. She then takes out a cigarette from her pocket, but the man behind her lights his lighter and lights her cigarette. She looks at him very keenly and asks him if he would take her to the Love Hotel. The man replies for sure he will and takes her to the Love Hotel, where Margaret looks around the room. She then asks the man if he knew what it does mean to be a submissive. The man then asks her to get undressed and she does as she is told to. He ties her with the bed and he says that he likes Love Hotels as nobody uses his actual face here. He says that as a kid, he used to come here a lot. Margaret asks if he had come with his girlfriend. The man replies that she is not his girlfriend, but she still came with him. Margaret tells him that he has now seen her without the mask, and he replies that sometimes a mask is prettier than the thing behind it. The man says that he can even kill Margaret now, to which Margaret says please do that, and this surprises the man. Margaret closes her eyes and goes back to the time when she is in the Buddha's room. Suddenly the door opens, and Margaret hears noises like someone is being beaten up. She opens her eyes and sees Kazu there. Kazu then unties her and covers her body up. Margaret asks him if he had been following her, and Kazu replies that he has been behind her all the time. Margaret says that he is a coward and a tear falls down Kazu's eye. Margaret then says that it is okay and she starts crying too. The following day, Margaret calls Kazu while he is in the train and says that he is right about the Buddha's room, as she can feel it now. Kazu says that he is glad to hear that and Margaret says goodbye to him. Kazu then sees the cut on his finger, which will always remember what he has done. Margaret takes a flight and sees Tomiko there giving instructions as a flight attendant and becomes very happy to see her. Tomiko sees her too and gives her a smile. Margaret then thinks that humans are torn apart by events and put back together differently by others, but somehow everything is beautiful. The movie ends here. Thanks for watching, and if you liked it then please consider liking our video and subscribing to our channel. We will see you in the next one.